up, geeks?
Hi, Internet.
Hello, 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 hello. My name is Shauna, pronouns she, they.
My name is Joe, pronouns she, they.
And we are Mythic Geekdom. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this awesome Thursday afternoon / evening. It's that weird, like, time of day for us where it's like, do we call this afternoon? Do we call this evening? I don't know. Time is
if it's winter, it's
irrelevant.
Definitely evening.
Yeah.
If it's summer, it still feels like afternoon.
Time is not the boss of you.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is what you want it to be. It probably isn't even this time where you're at. Whatever time you're at.
Good morning.
Thank you for
afternoon,
being here.
Good evening. All that goodness. On Thursdays, we do a little segment we call Roll+Play. It's Roll plus Play, and we like to talk about rolling dice and role-playing in tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, like Pathfinder, etc.
We are going to be your help hub for role-playing and TTRPGs.
Yes.
Hopefully, if you've got a question, put it in the chat. We would love to be answering it.
Absolutely.
But today we're going to be talking about some very interesting things. I'm not going to get into it yet. I don't know what my voice just did right there.
Oh, no.
Wow, that was great. I'm not going to get into it yet because we should do some
First,
announcements,
we have
really
announcements.
fast.
We always do our announcements at the beginning.
Dude.
Guys,
Guys, time for...
If you're feeling like a little bit of a slump in the midday like we do from time to time and you need some coffee to help you feel that burst of energy back up, we could not recommend Geek Grind Coffee anymore. They are the absolute best. They have super delicious coffee that is ethically grown and harvested and
geeky themed,
super geeky themed.
And they don't just have coffees, y'all. They have some really cool and they have some really cool like merch. The artwork for the things that go on their coffees and stuff they do on like tumblers and t-shirts and all of that stuff.
Yeah, their Dragon's Roast.
Kind of amazing.
A t-shirt's really amazing.
You're gonna have to wear that on like a Sunday night.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll need to see that. It looks so cool.
It's amazing.
So be sure to check out their website. You can find that link in our bio and in our description on our link tree. And be sure to use the promo code Stay Mythic to get yourself a Mythic discount.
All one word. Stay Mythic.
Absolutely. And if you need something to drink that coffee out of, we recommend taking a look at our Redbubble shop because we have all kinds of fun stuff there. Shauna, show off some of the stuff we've got. We've got our nifty logo. If you feel like a mythic geek, you know, geeky and royal and all that goodness. Guys, the gelatin is cute. Like, you can't do wrong.
If you, this is tabletop role playing at its finest right here.
Absolutely.
We've got anything from like stickers to water bottles, from t-shirts to tanks, from laptop cases to pillowcases.
There's a lot of fun TTRPG. There's celebratory stuff on our site. Check it out. Redbubble.com/people/mythicgeekdom. Again, you can find that in our link tree, which is in our bio and in the description to this video.
Boom. Boom. Lastly, we're going to be playing. So today we're talking tabletop role playing.
Yes.
On Sunday
nights,
it's all about the video game playing.
Yes.
We are going to be playing Suiken and Teal.
Yes, absolutely. The
continuing with our
JRPG.
playthrough. Joe knows a ton when it comes
I'm
to
the classic gamer.
To the thumbs. To the thumb gaming. I'm not a thumb gamer.
Sean is a dice gamer.
I'm a rolling gamer. I'm a dice
both gamer.
Well, yeah, I'm a both gamer now.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm proud of you. You're learning. You're doing good.
Thank you.
So yeah, Shauna's enjoying her first playthrough of Suiken and Teal. Come and join us on Sundays for that craziness and amazingness. We do some voice acting on that. So if you're a fan of the series, come check it out. It'll be elevated like never before.
And if you've never seen it, come be in my boat where
it's super fun.
Move around and not know what's going on.
With that said, are we ready to dive into our discussion on tabletop role-playing today?
Absolutely.
Okay.
for those, today we're going to be talking about raising the stakes for your tabletop role-playing game. It sounds pretty daunting and a little scary.
It actually
I'm gonna
makes
tell
the
you
game
right
a
now,
whole lot better.
it's not. It's pretty cool. But if you have any questions, it doesn't have to be on raising the stakes.
About
but
anything
when
to
it
do
comes
with
to
TTRPGs.
TTRPGs, please go ahead and make a comment. Put that in the chat because we want to answer your questions at the end of. Towards the end of this hour.
Disclaimer, we are not proficient in the mechanics of Pathfinder. We are more proficient in the mechanics of D&D 5e, but the role play aspect of any of the TTRPGs we are happy to address and talk about. But mechanics, we can give you some solid ideas with 5e. For sure.
So let's talk raising the stakes. Can you explain to everybody what raising the stakes even means? Because that sounds like a really weird idiom, and if you don't know what it means, it's going to be very confusing.
Yeah. So it's making the situation more complicated, or more difficult. But it makes you more invested in what happens to the characters because of it. And this is not exclusive to TTRPG. It's any kind of storytelling. So no one is invested in a movie, a play, a book, any kind of story where the characters wake up and they go do their thing and everything's successful and there's no kind of threat at all. Or if there is a threat, it's a super easy threat and no one really cares.
Yeah.
You want there to be these like, whoa, life-threatening stakes and it's super scary and difficult and if we don't do this then the world's gonna whatever, and then we want to be able to see the heroes that we love triumph over these incredible odds and this great adversity. Those are the stories
we're talking conflicts.
Yeah,
today.
Raise those stakes, make it more difficult for your characters, your heroes, to succeed. So when they do succeed, it's all the more special.
Yes. I feel like, when you listen to a little kid tell a story and they go, oh, well, my character, he wakes up and oh no, he doesn't have any milk.
Oh no!
Oh
We've
no!
Gotta get milk for that poor
So
kid.
he went to the store and got milk.
Oh, good job. The end. Yay!
That's like, it's great for a kid.
Yeah.
It's great for a kid.
Yeah.
It's a good
Kids learning
starting
how to
point.
tell a story.
The fact that there was a conflict, that there was something that wasn't there that was supposed to be. Fantastic.
Yeah, and if you're a beginner storyteller, then cool. That's a great way to start off your campaigns, your ideas. This is true for whether you're the DM or GM or a player.
Yes.
But if you want to level up your games, then raise those stakes little by little.
Yeah, it's about adding those conflicts in, and giving all the more reason for something weird to happen.
Hey, thank you so much for the subscription. Wow. We're so happy that you're here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geek. So yeah, it's raising the stakes is important, especially when it comes to tabletop role-playing, because it gets people invested, and you want to be invested in the story.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
whose responsibility does this fall onto? Is this on the GM? Is this on the players?
It's on
Is
both.
it a mixture?
It's on both, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's start with the GM raising the stakes, because it's one of the types of raising the stakes we encounter most often.
Yes.
So let's start with that because it's familiar. You GM far more often than I do. She is the GM, the head GM of our home game. We have a rotating GM situation, but she's always the head. She's the showrunner to make sure everything fits in with the story. How do you like to raise the stakes?
So, the one like big tip I like to give people when it comes to raising the stakes is, if you're gonna put it in there, you got to be willing to go through with it.
Yeah.
So if you sit there,
no empty threats.
no empty threats. Don't empty threat it, because then your players are going to know that you give empty threats, and you don't want to do that.
Right,
so,
right. Then there's no stakes. There's no consequences.
Say in the story, the group, the party that we're following, are talking very loudly in the street about
the plans, whatever
the plans.
Every party always talks for too long about the plans and never does anything.
But say they're in the midst of talking about the plans in the middle of a street, and you as the GM are like, man, if somebody heard this wouldn't go well.
Nope.
Follow those instincts, and maybe the watch, maybe the police force or whatever, the law enforcement notices. So if you go in and you go, okay, you guys notice there's 2 law enforcement heading your way. You better be willing to
follow through with
involve those law enforcement in what's going on.
Oh, but I don't want to make it difficult for my party. No, make it difficult for your party.
Go ahead and make it difficult.
This is not about that DM trope of like, oh, I want to kill all the players. No, that's BS. The best DMs want their characters to they want their players, their PCs to succeed.
You can't succeed if there's no conflict.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make those stakes.
So my biggest thing for GMs out there is you're gonna feel like a heel. You're gonna feel like the bad guy in the moment, and trust and know that your players don't see you like this. And if you're willing to go, oh well, there's guard all the way over there, and they're walking your way.
You gave them a warning.
Be willing to involve them.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna use that threat, that's you heightening the stakes a little bit. But if you back off of it, then where's the fun in that? 2, there's no conflict anymore, and 3, your players are gonna go, oh, I don't have to take anything you say as seriously as I thought.
Right.
So keep it in mind.
It's so boring.
As a GM, you're gonna want to keep it in mind. You have GM'd now.
I have. Yeah.
Have you had any problems like raising the stakes? What was? How did you feel? Where were you at?
Guys, I am the Hufflepuffiest Hufflepuff. There was one time when we did cosplays. We did South Park cosplays, and I cosplayed as Eric Cartman. She cosplayed as Kenny. And if you know anything about us, we love to cosplay in character. You can cosplay however you want to. Yes. We like to cosplay in character. That's special for us. I spent about 2 minutes before I realized, I committed to role-playing all day long as Eric Cartman and being a heel to everyone.
Yes.
I froze. I didn't know what to do anymore. I'm like, oh crap.
I have to be
I am the Hufflepuffiest Hufflepuff. I don't like being mean to people. I don't like it. So the first time that I GM'd for my party, oh my God, it was hard. I made copious notes of everything I wanted to do and how much things would be.
Sure.
And if they stepped on this tile, I rolled this dice to see how much damage they'd get and everything. I set myself rules because I would be the first one to break them. I would be the first one to be like, oh no, they'll be okay. I'll be lenient. And I'm like, no, I can't do that, because if I were the player, I'd be pissed at my DM if they took away the threat.
Give me the good.
Yeah, success is only sweet when the threat is high.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm giving my gift to the players of a challenge that they can overcome. So I needed to keep reminding myself of that, and I set those notes ahead of time. So when the event happened, it wasn't me being the bad guy. It was, this is the situation, and they stepped on that tile, and if they wanted to roll perception ahead of time to know if there was a tile there, cool, they could have rolled. They didn't. They stepped on the tile. Okay. That's
this is the damage you're doing.
7 fire damage, or whatever the case is. You know, and that
And you don't
helps
have to
me.
worry about
setting it down ahead of time, looking at those beautiful charts that are in the Dungeon Master's Guide, all that kind of stuff can help you if you're afraid to be the bad guy.
Right. I would also like to say that challenges don't have to be literal adversaries in the way.
Right.
Obstacles can literally be physical obstacles. You can have just big gosh darn tree in the road kind of thing that's blocking the path. It can be environmentally hard or difficult conflict. It can be a person conflict. It can be an idea about something that you're working with kind of conflict. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can try out that doesn't have to be I am a person and I'm being the bad guy right now.
Right. When you set these challenges, be they puzzles or environmental challenges or diplomatic challenges or even combat, do you as a GM like to have a set idea that the one right way to solve the problem?
Absolutely not. No. 100% no.
Okay. Why and what do you like to do differently?
here's my reasoning on this. I've GM'd enough to know that anything that I think the players are gonna do is the exact opposite thing that they're gonna do.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. I stopped trying to predict my players and their PCs, and I more just try to establish the problem and see what creative way they come up with to come out of this.
So
it's very like you don't want to be the quote unquote teacher giving the test to a bunch of different people when they learn all different ways, and you only make it so that they can pass this test if they do the one thing. That it feels
right.
It feels
it's that whole thing
hard.
Where
it feels awful.
If you teach, if you
you're not going to ask a fish to climb a tree.
Yes, exactly. That whole thing. They're going to spend their whole life thinking they're stupid.
Yes, and that's not the point of. One, that's not the point of the game. Period. But two, that's not the point of what you're trying to get across. You're not trying to get. What you want your players to get out of that moment is not, I'm dumb. I can't figure this out. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. There's only one right way to solve it.
It feels helpless, and you never want to make your players. Characters can, but you never want to make your players feel helpless.
Yeah. So we want to raise those stakes, but we don't want it to be impossible.
Exactly. Or even one answer to the thing.
Yeah.
Have many different answers.
Do you never plan a result for something? Like if there's a puzzle, do you never think about how it could be solved?
No, I think about how I could have solved it.
Okay.
And I just go, so what's the rule? What's the boundary here?
Okay.
Of like, well,
so there's some flexibility within those boundaries.
How much can magic affect this? How much physical, environmental stuff can affect this? And I figure out where the boundaries are to the puzzle. And
so any player could approach it differently and try and solve it differently. Exactly. But as long as it fits within those boundaries you've set. Okay.
I think of the world mechanics of the thing, and just go, here's the problem, here's what you notice, what's facing you, and blah blah blah.
This is what's reasonable for the world,
and
for the situation.
Honestly, if you can come up with something absolutely creative, and obviously the dice
within the parameters
follow and say,
and the dice
here's
side.
What you're getting, and the dice are on your side about it, I'll absolutely give it to you. I'll be like. And that solves what you need. Your obstacle is now either like lessened or completely solved. you don't have to like solve it right away either. If somebody comes up with something, it's amazing, they roll and it's a natural 20.
That's what I was going to ask next. Are you the type of DM that honors the D20 even if it doesn't fit in with your parameters that you set? If someone wants to do something and it doesn't follow your parameters, but they roll a natural 20. So for those that don't know,
we're talking mainly like the D20 system, like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Spelljammer, all of those, where your main dice is a 20-sided die. Meaning, if you roll that and you land on the highest number, that's called a natural 20. It's a critical success. Yeah. And then if you roll on a 1 on that die, it's a natural, or a nat 1 or a critical failure.
So if you're playing a different system that doesn't use D20s or uses a variety of dice,
this is
like
the
kids on brooms or something, then
critical success,
whatever your critical success situation would be. Yeah.
I follow those. I like to follow critical success. If it's a critical success, if you are rolling a nat 20 in this case, I'm going to give you the nat 20, but it might not be in the way you think. It's going to be a success, but maybe there's something more to it.
If it doesn't fit in with the parameters you set of the world?
Yes. And honestly, I'm probably going to be like, we're going to have to figure out how I'm going to have you roll on that, because that doesn't make sense within the parameters of the world. If you're playing and you go, well, I want to invent time travel right now and go back in time and fix this, nat 20, but I don't have time travel in my world.
Right. Does it break your game?
That could break the game, right? Yeah. That's not the stakes I'm looking for here.
Right.
So
and I might go. It depends on the DM, what you choose to do at that moment. We recently watched Mice and Murder on Dimension 20 on the Dropout channel, and
highly recommend.
Incredible. Brennan Lee Mulligan is a gift to the world as a DM, also as a player. And there was a moment he had created this world and the parameters of the world, and one of the players rolled to see it basically. This player rolled a nat 20 and it broke the DM's world. It suddenly made ghosts real. Yeah. Ghosts were not real before, and then all of a sudden ghosts became real with that nat 20. And so he had to sit there and say,
know what you're gonna know if you're allowed to.
He's like, am I gonna break the world for this? What am I going to do? How am I going to make it fit in with the game? And he figured it out in like a second. And so it's a difficult challenge when that comes up. But having an idea of what you would do if a nat 20
you can raise the stakes, but if you raise the stakes, if it's like, whoa, we escalated that quickly, you might not want to go there.
Table, you get to decide what you want to do with that. But don't be awful and be like, your D20, your nat 20 does nothing. That's cruel.
Exactly.
Honor the nat 20 in a way, but
exactly.
Have your boundaries with what you want to break the game or not.
How it is successful is still up to you as the GM.
Yeah. While we're talking about roles, I was gonna
transition.
Throw it to you. Cool. I was gonna transition to a different topic.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Raising the stakes. So you said earlier that raising the stakes is not just on the GM; it's on the players as well. Hail hydration. So go from a player standpoint and tell me how you can raise the stakes as a player.
Okay. Well, that kind of segues into the topic that I was going to go into anyway, which is roll for it. So jumping back to the DM thing real quick before I touch on the player thing.
Sure.
Make your characters roll for stuff. Your characters, your players spent a long time developing their character sheets.
Yes, please.
And developing their skills. They chose their race, they chose their class, they chose their background, all these different things that give them certain buffs in different things.
There's a balance to this.
Yes.
There is a balance to this.
Right.
Allow your characters to roll for things. Obviously, they've made this character that has all of these abilities. Let them use the abilities.
Yeah.
Also, you don't have to roll for everything.
Exactly. You don't have to roll for everything. But
if you're sitting there and they're, day 7 of travel and you're making these guys roll animal handling checks every single day to see if their horse is going to be cool with it, it's slowing your pacing down.
Yeah, maybe there's more critical things to roll about now. Maybe skip past that part.
Exactly.
But if you've ever been at a table with a GM
geeks.
and you've created your character and you're like, okay, I want to try and, the classic trope of the bard wanting to seduce the dragon, right? That's a trope.
Sure.
Let's go with that. So the bard tries to seduce the dragon and the DM's like, nope, dragon wants nothing to do with it. Dragon's going to attack. It's like, wait, but your bard has a huge charisma buff that they spent time working.
You could have them roll.
You could, let the bard roll for it.
At least let them try.
Yeah, exactly. You can choose to set the DC as super high. You can choose to make that DC 30 or 35. So no matter what, they're pretty much gonna fail.
Impossible.
It's almost impossible, but let them try anyway. Let them roll. And maybe they freaking hit a nat 20 and they have a +10 to charisma, and oh my gosh, 1 in 100 chance they hit that DC.
So how is that successful?
Exactly.
You don't want it to break your game where it's like, well, now the dragon is in love with you.
Right.
But you could still be like, okay, so you have now successfully distracted the dragon enough to be like,
I'm willing to have a conversation with you instead of instantly eat you.
Let's talk. Give me your digits, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that the rest of your party possibly has a one-up kind of thing. But that's great.
Let your players roll. If your players say, I want to try this, let them roll for it. So now, don't just say yes, it works, or no, it doesn't. Let them roll for it. It's so much more fun. Players want to be able to roll. They want to feel successful. Yes. They want to be able to say, look at what I did with my character sheet, and I'm more successful because I planned that.
Yes.
That's a win, not just, nope, it doesn't work, or yes, it works, good job. Raise the stakes. Make them roll for it.
Yeah.
So answering your question on the player thing, I feel, now every table is different, but I personally feel it's cool to let players roll things as well without a prompting from the DM. Now, I'm not necessarily saying, oh, hey, DM, can I roll a perception? I prefer it when it's like, hey, DM, what do I notice in the room? Roll me a perception. I prefer that rather than, can I roll a perception, DM?
Yes, same.
I always prefer that. But every table is different. What I'm talking about here is raising the stakes for your character with what fits in with your character personality-wise and skill-wise. In our home game, we have an amazing character who is a barbarian who's super buff and super tough, and she's super happy and excitable, and her intelligence is not very high.
It's her dump stat.
It's her dump stat. She is a wonderful character. We love her so much, but sometimes she's a little rash and brash, and she doesn't always think with her head because her head doesn't work that way. And so this player often will, she's a very intelligent human being, this player. She can see the answers to puzzles. She understands social dynamics, and she knows that her character doesn't get that so well.
Yeah.
So if there's a big conflict going on or whatever, and she knows that the smart thing is to stay out of it, she would think, I know the smart thing is to stay out of this right now, but would my character know this? And then she will just quickly roll a d20 for herself, and she'll set her own personal DC, and she's like, oh, no.
DC being a difficulty challenge rating.
She'll roll that, and she's like, nope, that was pretty low. And then she has her character just blaze in and do what could be the wrong thing or the difficult thing for the situation.
Yeah.
So she raised the stakes herself. She set a little challenge, and she's like, this is not a good idea. The character doesn't know that, but how does she determine whether or not the character knows that? She will.
You can go about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
I think that's a great thing to do. Some DMs would not be about that. They'd be like, ask me first, and I'll tell you to roll. But I think it's a wonderful thing to do personally. I totally welcome that at my table when I'm DMing. I like doing it as a player.
Yeah.
Just things, knowing myself. Would my character be there right now? Would they understand this? Would they know that? Would they try for that? How are they feeling right now? Oh, they're feeling good? Sure, cool. They'll do it. Or they'll be smart enough to stay out of the situation. You know what I mean? I think that's great, and it adds a lot of flavor to the situation.
I think also as a player, being able to find, man, this is so hard to say. I know a lot of people play characters that are like super brooding or very angsty.
Me and our home game?
Yeah. This one. But like,
has actual depression and anxiety.
Let them if your character's one to buck authority and you're saying that, you're like, they're a rebel, they're doing this, follow through with it. Again, like I said before, don't put it in there if you're not going to follow through with it. Buck authority, you know?
And that can be an opportunity where you might want to roll and say, okay, so is my character in a mood where they would be like, oh, okay, well, they're actually going to listen to their party this time and stay out of the fray, that they're not going to buck authority here.
Yeah.
You know? You can roll for that. And the DC can change depending on how your character
depends on what they are rolling. Some players roll, get a good number and try to get more out of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is coming from Remy Xavier on Twitch. Thank you for your comment. Yes.
I feel that's only okay to do as a player if you're...
It depends on the DM, though.
Yeah, if your goal is to say, am I even going to attempt this?
Yes.
Am I even going to attempt this? Would my character even attempt this?
This doesn't mean...
Depending on how I roll, yes.
This doesn't mean
I'm going to... It doesn't mean whether or not I'm
making the perception check right now.
Boom. No, don't do that.
Don't do that, friends.
This is would I even consider right now? I'm having a depressive episode. Would I even consider joining in with the situation? I rolled high. Wow, I actually would.
Joe's character, by the way.
So if that's the case, then my character would actually engage and say, hey, what do you think about this? And then the DM would say, why don't you roll for it?
Right.
So I'm just rolling to see whether or not my character would even get involved.
Would I recognize this? Would I, as a character, would I recognize this kind of thing? Recently I played a one-shot and I was playing a rogue paladin. More levels in rogue than paladin.
So
very
fun.
New to the paladin thing. And we got in a big, huge boss battle.
My character was down.
Yep.
I was a squishy wizard, and I was
completely
on the
unconscious.
Ground. So bad.
And not too far away from me. I could go over and heal.
Got that paladin healing
ability, but also fairly close is the artifact that we need, and we is causing a lot of the problem in the area. The rogue part of my character would want to go get the thing. The paladin part of my character would want to help the friend.
It's that whole Two-Face and Batman idea. I'm gonna
flip the coin.
To see which one I'm gonna go with.
Would I have enough common sense? Would I have enough sensibility to feel for this character that's on the ground? Or would I be rash and go towards the artifact?
I'm so glad that dice made you be rash and go get the artifact.
Yeah.
I was like, do not raise me right now. Take care of that artifact first, please.
Because I as a person, I'm not a very rash person. I like planning things out. I like, figuring things and having it just so, and for me to just be like, I'm just gonna bolt in. This is not me as a person.
But
so
it's very
that's
hard. The character you're trying.
It's very hard for me to play that kind of person, especially when I can excuse and say, well, this person has levels in paladin and would think of this. What am I gonna do? I can have an internal conflict
moment. What are they going to do?
I'm going to roll, and that helped me decide as a person and just be like, I feel better about making the decision about being rash and going and grabbing the artifact and
that
smashing
roll had nothing to do with how successful you were at any of those things.
Exactly.
All those need to involve the DM. You ask the DM for it, or
Precisely.
the DM tells you to roll when you ask to do something,
Precisely.
or tell them what you want to do.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Agree.
Let me double check stuffs here. So going back to what you were saying about like allowing your players to use the PCs that they've made and having those abilities, do you as a DM or as a GM form encounters and problems and conflicts based on your player's abilities or based on something else?
Okay. Yes and no. Because it's kind of like, I'm thinking with my director brain too, because we have directed a lot of children's theater in the past.
Sure.
And adolescent youth theater. And for years we had a set group of players that would come back every year. And maybe we'd get some new people, maybe we wouldn't. But it was like a limited, like 30 people, 20 something people tops, and usually a limited amount of boys. And so whenever we picked a play, we had to be like, okay, so we don't want to necessarily cast ahead of time. We want them to be able to audition, but we need to think, okay, if we did this play,
do we even have
potential players that could play these roles?
Yeah.
Or do we
How many guy characters are in this?
Exactly.
That have to be
right, whatever the case is. And so what you don't want to do is cast it ahead of time and just know, no matter what happens, this player's going to be this character.
100%.
That's dumb. You let your actors audition and see what they're going to get. So this is a similar situation here, where when I'm creating a challenge, an encounter, whether it's combat or puzzle or whatever, for my players, I don't necessarily want to cast it ahead of time and be like, okay, so this challenge can only be solved if players do A, B, C.
Yeah.
And that means that it has to be the druid casting this spell. It's the only way it can be solved. Which means that the druid gets a special moment. Yay! But they can only do it this way.
Yeah, no.
Boring. So what I do like to do is I have that idea of not casting it ahead of time, but just knowing all the many different, a couple of different options that I could have. So when I create an encounter, puzzle, whatever, I like to think, okay, this, depending on the decisions the players make and the roles they do and all these different things, it could be linked to character A's backstory. They may have something that that's connected there, or maybe because there's a lot of humans in this situation, and most of our characters are elves. Maybe the one human character would have a really important moment in this situation. I don't know whether or not they're going to do that. I'm not going to push it on them if they don't want to have it. But there's that opportunity. Well, and if they don't
want to bring that in,
exactly, then they don't have to. They don't have to. So I'm not going to force them. I'm not going to railroad that into it. But I'm creating these scenarios, and as I'm creating them, I'm going, oh yeah, that's an opportunity for this. Do I want to expound upon that and give them more of an opportunity? Maybe, maybe not. So it's less that I'm trying to craft things for my characters, but as I'm crafting a puzzle, I'm noticing which things could be super cool. Like, oh, there's a chasm here. The druid could be really successful there. Or the wizard might want to do like a misty step or something. And there are different ways for my players to be successful. Right. And if it's just all combat all the time, then only my barbarian's going to be successful, or whatever the case is. And I want all of my players and characters to have different degrees of success with the creativity that they have.
Agreed. Yeah. I think I don't necessarily think of the encounter and like I'm gonna keep my people in mind. I think what would be a really cool obstacle, what would be a really cool conflict or encounter, if I'm thinking about, like, if I'm going through the monster manual or whatever, and I'm like, this is actually a really cool monster. Let's figure out how to pull this in. But I do think if it's, let's say it's like a environmental conflict, I'm going to think, like I said before, the tree in the road kind of thing, and you can't get past it. I'm going to think, is there a way magically that this can be solved? If the answer is yes, cool. Is there a way that this can be solved physically without magic?
Yes.
Yes. If it can answer check both those boxes, then I've made a good encounter.
Can this be solved charismatically using diplomacy or guile or something like that? Can this be solved
bonus, but
stealthily?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
added bonus.
If there's more than one way to solve it.
That's kind of what how I place the thought process is just to be able to go, okay, my spellcasters, are they gonna be okay with this?
Yeah.
Cool. Are my physical non-magic people, are they gonna be able to solve it if these other people weren't there? Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I've made a good obstacle for this
and
area.
I don't feel that every single obstacle you bring on the table needs to be solved by every single one of the ways.
No.
But if you have a balance, like this encounter can be solved with diplomacy or stealth. This encounter can be solved with magic or
I will say switching it up is, absolutely important.
Absolutely.
So
switch it up.
If
different characters get to be
the physicality, the physical, fighters have had quite a few times.
The winning shot of the game.
Yeah, they've had quite a few times in solving the situation. Now maybe it's time to move this over into an encounter where the spellcasters can do their thing, or the intelligence
where they can throw down an AoE or something,
or your charisma, your diplomacy people can do their thing, so that you're using many different people, and it's kind of shining the light. You're taking the light on the lighthouse and moving it back and forth.
Every player should have an opportunity to deliver the winning shot.
Person. Yes, say
whatever
that again.
that is. Every player deserves to have the opportunity to throw the winning shot of the game. I'm using like a basketball term.
Yes.
It's no fun if it's always the star player,
if it's always
throwing
the
the
barbarian
basket.
that gets to
Yay!
hit.
I'm always on the bench, coach. Put me in. So give different opportunities, different types of challenges that could be flavored in different ways.
Yeah.
And if I think of a challenge that I think it could be solved with diplomacy or stealth, but then my spellcaster comes along and finds a magic way to do it, I'm like, okay, cool, sure, absolutely. If it's clever and they roll for it and the dice align, hell yeah. Give that the success, man.
Pause your thought for a second.
Absolutely.
Friends in the chat, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm loving seeing all of the geeks in here. It's good to see you. If you have a question of any kind when it comes to tabletop role-playing game, or maybe you
comment your own experience.
Please put it in the comments below so we can talk about this. I'd love to get your guys' hot take on what is going on.
Absolutely.
And answer any questions that you might have towards the end of this segment. Cool.
Let's look at what we have in this chat. Remy Xavier on Twitch a little while ago was talking about depends on what they're rolling.
Right.
And that was wonderful to talk about that. That's super good to remember. Absolutely. Some players get a good roll and try and get more from it.
Games for You on Twitch says, hi, Shauna and Joe. How are you? How was your 4th of July?
Oh, it was a great 4th of July. We just chilled at home, and
it was so nice.
We played some D&D Dark Alliance on Xbox with our friend online.
Yeah, it was a great time. And we got to, we tried to stay cool.
Yeah.
We tried to be kind of homebodies for the day and not work.
Yes.
That was the hardest part.
So hard.
Honestly, that was the hardest part for me, was like giving myself the day off and not working, or doing much chores or whatever around the house.
Yeah.
But I feel I was successful in this endeavor.
I agree.
Thank you. I tried really hard.
It's hard to give yourself a day off and not feel guilty about it, especially as a freelancer or an artistic
100%,
creative
100%.
type. Yeah,
right.
You got to build in that rest time and not feel guilty about it. You're allowed to rest.
Also, friends, I wanted to let you know that, yes, we do have this awesome segment, Roll Play, on Thursdays from 5 to 6 Pacific Standard Time on this geeky channel. Mm-hmm. But we also play video games on Sunday nights. We're playing Suikoden 2. Please come back. It is at from 7 to 9 Pacific Standard Time. there's voice acting, there's fun shenanigans. Come check it out.
There's
and
cooking
then
games.
There's cooking games. How can you not love cooking games?
Cannot love a cooking game.
And then on Monday, come back again, same geeky channel for an awesome art stream where we sit. We have a lo-fi goodness. Last week, I had a little bit of a crisis. It has been since resolved.
Yep.
I
were
found
playing D&D all day long with some friends, and we brought our iPad to the place to have the character sheet there because we like our digital character sheets. And we got back here. Shauna was ready to flip open her iPad and take her Apple Pencil and
there's
Apple
no
Pencil
Apple
was
Pencil.
Gone.
Yeah, it was scary.
So
it
we
has
wondered
since
if it was
been
at
found.
the venue or wherever.
It has since been found, so we are good.
We found it.
And we are good for some lo-fi, some chill vibes, and some art on Monday from 4 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. Come on back, listen to some great music.
Yeah.
Chill with us, have a good, nice, soothing, calming time to work on whatever you need to. Whether you want to do a facial or paint minis or draw what I'm drawing, feel free to do that as well. Whatever your little project heart desires, your art heart desires, I want you to do that during that time, and I would love for you to come back during that time.
Absolutely.
I also want to say thank you so much to all of our followers, our subscribers,
our patrons,
and our mods. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, geeks. You help us week after week with all that goes on here. And new subscription from friends. Thank you so much for that. That is, you don't know how helpful that is. So thank you.
Let's see if I can find it. It went away. The element's too small to be displayed.
There we go.
There it is. Matt Bob Tom.
Matt Bob Tom, thank you
so
for your
much for your subscription.
Woot. Yeah. So, I'm double checking our notes here.
Our little list there. While Sean is double checking our notes, you take a minute to go double check all of our socials. Please click on our link tree in our bio and in the description for this video, and go take a look at our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, our Twitch, our TikTok, our Spotify, our YouTube. Go check out all that good stuff because we have different content on different platforms. We've got a lot of Shauna's amazing drawings on our Instagram, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
Give it a check out. We have a question in the chat.
Question from Remy Xavier on Twitch that says, what is an example of the DM raising the stakes in a game that you are in?
Oh, okay. So the one we played last night. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're at level 8, right?
So
8.
I don't know. I can't remember.
we have 2 feats. We're at level 8. And we do have a wizard, but they're a multi-class, so they're not high enough to have a counter spell yet.
Yeah.
DM brought a couple of beholders into the game, and one of them cast Disintegrate.
Yeah.
Disintegrate. Instant death. No way to recover from this.
Because you're ash.
Yeah, unless
there's no body
unless
to
you have
recover.
a wish spell or counter spell. Nothing.
Yeah.
Character dead. Commit to that threat, man. The DM didn't want to see the character die. The DM loves the character, but the DM knows that the beholder would want to do something like that, and the DM set parameters ahead of time, and this character just cast a spell
and you can't counterspell a beholder.
Lot. Oh damn. Yeah.
So it's a lot.
There was so much damage that this character delivered to the beholder, and the beholder was like, you just hurt me really bad. Disintegrate. And it was
sad.
Weeping.
Had a sad.
Now, here's the thing. The entire battle did take place in a Underdark Phaserist dreamscape. So we weren't sure if they were, because it's what happened in the Matrix, and we didn't know if they would be alive after this, we woke from this dream or what have you. The character did end up being okay at the end, but we were so worried that they were perma-dead. Yeah. They were perma-dead within the rest of that battle for the dream.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic...
Stakes raised, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I was playing the cleric, and I'm like, oh God, how do I bring this character back? Oh my God, I was scrolling through all my spells, like, what do I do? Stakes raised. Thank you for the challenge. I appreciate encountering a challenge as a player.
Matt Bob Tom on Twitch says, thanks to the two of you. Thursday is my D&D day, but session was canceled this week. So at least I can still get a little role play in my life.
Yay! We're so glad you're here. And I hope that you continue to be able to play your games again next week, and that you will join us in watching our VODs on YouTube and Twitch in the future. If you can't join us live because you're busy making your own role play happen.
I want to say one more thing on how you can raise the stakes. Or at least, I hate saying it this way, but feign raising the stakes.
Oh, I know what you're getting at.
Do you?
I think I do. I think I do.
So I actually think that you can just feign raising the stakes in a lot of ways. GMs, I'm mostly talking to you. Here's what you do. First off, have a really good DM voice. So that when things get super intense or super creepy or whatever, set the mood. Oh. If you slow down how you speak, or if you turn down the volume a little bit on how you speak, or if you change your voice just a little bit
or change the lighting in the room,
exactly,
or change the playlist, whatever tricks you got,
and all. But if you go from being like, cool, you guys are walking down, you're walking down this cavernous area, this cavernous tunnel within the Underdark, and all of a sudden the light changes.
Yeah. Why does the light change, DM?
That could be nothing. Nothing. But the fact that you paused, changed your voice, and used a DM voice raises the stakes, or at least it fakes it.
Now we're all terrified.
Yes. Second thing. My favorite thing to do. Feigning. And this is usually when you have to go, I need to look at my notes for a second.
Yep, this is the one I thought you were doing.
Yeah, I need to look at my notes for a second, but I don't want them to think that I haven't planned this out, or I can't find the notes of what I did. All you have to do is this. You go, okay, 1 second. Pick up your dice. Roll them in your hand while you're looking at your notes, or while you're figuring out what you're gonna do in your brain. And like, put the dice in your hand. And then at the end of it, roll your dice so they hear the clunk, 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 clunk. Look at it and go,
make a lot of dice and they're really scared.
Yeah. Roll
Why do you need that many dice, DM?
Roll the dice, let it go clunk, 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 and then go, okay, noted. And then move on with whatever you need to do.
What? Why'd you roll that many dice? What do you mean noted? What's happening? Oh, you'll find out.
Yes, Warrior Maiden on Twitch says it sounds like in a video game when the music starts getting super intense.
Exactly.
That's 100% that DM voice.
Movies or plays.
It's
absolutely
changing the camera angle where you're like, or flip that. Use it at an opposite way. So now that your players know, here's my DM voice. They know that when I start to use this voice, perhaps maybe they should pay attention. If they're doing that, then later on in a random time, just be like, cool, you guys are walking down the street and so-and-so, barbarian, you don't realize until it's too late the blade that has hit you in the back.
What?
I have not changed my voice at all. And that makes them do that. Because they're used to, you're walking down and you get this eerie feeling where someone's following you. Am I going to give you time to look around? No. Shank. You know what I'm saying? So play with your DM voice,
that only comes after you're like, okay, you're walking down this corridor, everyone roll a stealth check. Cool, awesome, great, thank you very much. Okay, you're walking, do your thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you remember that stealth check from a minute or so ago.
Yep.
And you're applying it to this entire journey. You didn't notice the knife in your back.
Yeah, Matt Bob Tom says DMs should be proficient in deception.
I know,
100%.
right?
100%. And if you aren't proficient in deception, that's okay. Work that in. You know what I do? I do this. When my players start talking about stuff and they're on the right track, I'll do this. Because it makes it so that they can't see my mouth and the fact that I'm smiling that they're on the right track. However, know your tell and then randomly put in
a drink
every so often so they don't know which is what.
Yep.
You just gotta know yourself. Know yourself. You know what I'm saying?
We have time for like one more question if anyone wants to throw another question at us.
Or a thought.
Or a thought, comment. If not, we'll wrap up in just a minute here.
Yeah, for friends at home, the character that got disintegrated last night within the dreamscape was me. And I got to, we were playing remotely. I got to go off camera, no sound, talk to the DM for a second. They called me to tell me that I didn't actually die.
Because it was just a dream. The dreamscape.
And that I have woken up in my own body. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay. And I was like, okay. Get back on the call with everybody else. And I know everybody's looking at my face. Because they're trying to suss out, did I actually die or not? So I'm doing this. And I get a text from the DM being like, stop being so sad. Stop being so sad. It's making me sad. And I'm like, I'm acting, dude. I'm helping you out. I'm helping you out as the GM right now.
That made the reveal when we completed the battle and we left the dreamscape and came back to our bodies. We looked around. We didn't see the character. Where are they? We tried message, didn't see them. Our one that has like wolf senses tried to smell in a certain direction, couldn't smell them. We were terrified, and then someone used the sending stone to cast sending. And then boop boop, they had gone invisible.
I'm right behind you, invisible.
Exactly. And
playing
we're
a prank on you instead.
We thought you were dead, and you were so it made the reveal so much sweeter. So that's another way that you, as a player, can
help raise the stakes too. Yeah, don't give it away.
Don't give it away yet. Let it be a cool plot
100%.
moment. Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
That helps a lot, and it really does make the GM feel better because it feels like you're on their side.
What the GM has said.
I'm supporting you, GM, and I'm not going to let anybody know what's going on right now.
Yeah, until the right time.
Until the right time.
Yeah. You know, it's like, don't open the present before Christmas.
Precisely.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yes.
I think that's a great place to end it for today.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you, geeks, so much for coming by, stopping by, hanging out. It's good to see all of you.
Thank you for your questions and comments. You guys are the greatest. It is not GM versus PC. It should be a cooperative story. Yes, Raimi Xavier, absolutely. Raising the stakes doesn't mean that it's GM versus PC. That's not the case. It's that there needs to be some sort of a challenge in order for the players to feel successful. So you want to give them a proper challenge that is at their level. And the system has a lot of great guides to help you have a challenge rating that is appropriate for where your characters are at. Because you don't want it to be easy. You don't want it to be too hard. Yeah. It's a difficult balance to strike.
And if you are a PC feel free to make those bold choices, because most of the time your bold choices are raising the stakes
for the DM too.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today for Roll Play. We hope to see you on Sunday from 7 to 9 playing Suikoden 2 right on this geeky channel, and then back on Mondays for an awesome art stream and some lo-fi tunes at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Thank you for joining us for Roll Play.
Yay!
Until we see you next time,
stay mythic out there, geeks, and roll with
for
advantage. Bye.